propounded this idea of reading against the grain, of reading against the established meaning of a text, of reading through its silences, through its gaps. And we said that postmodernism was all about doing away with the idea of a center. So whereas in the modernist period also, as we saw in the last class, that in the modernist period we had gradually come to a destruction of all certainties. So one by one, we saw how in the last class we were discussing about how the basic certainties about the human world were one at a time. They were destroyed. So we spoke about the developments in psychology, which stated that the human mind is unknowable, and therefore we cannot claim to know ourselves. We spoke about the developments in in linguistics, where you say that language is not dependable. Language is not it is not a very reliable medium for the communication of meaning, and so what you say and what you are understood as are quite different things. So that was breaking forth another certainty. So we spoke in the last class, we spoke about how Darwin's idea of evolution challenged the idea of God. We spoke about how Einstein's theory of relativity, the idea that even the speed of light, which was believed to have been constant, was not constant. So all of these dismantling of certainties, जिसको कल तक बिल्कुल certain माना जाता था कि ऐसा तो होगा ही, it was taken for granted. Language was taken for granted. Human understanding and human behavior was taken for granted. Uh, the speed of light was taken for granted. तो इस तरह से जिन चीज़ों को हम taken for granted लेते थे, again the idea of progress, as I said, was taken for granted. कि हम evolve भी अगर कर रहे हैं तो हम progress कर रहे हैं, हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, we are moving forward on the moral ladder. हम कल से आज आगे बढ़े हैं. So this kind of belief and faith in progress, which characterized the Victorian period, was shattered when you come to the early modern period. When you come to the First World War, the idea of progress was shattered, and man realized that no, there is no progress at all. Because the First World War was the First World War. There had been no massive slaughter before this. तो slaughter on such a scale जो कि हम लोगों ने सिर्फ अपने epics में पढ़ी थी, है ना, war इस footing में जो हम लोगों ने सिर्फ पढ़ा था, these were things which actually happened. And so the idea of the idea in human goodness, एक innate goodness, जो romantics जिस idea को espouse कर रहे थे कि हाँ ह्यूमन बींग्स में एक इनेट गुडनेस है, और वो नेचर के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में जब रहते हैं तो वो गुडनेस जो है वो और डेवलप करता है. एंड when man moves towards urban living, तो कहीं ना कहीं करप्शन आ जाती है. तो हमारा by birth man is born good. तो ये जो आइडिया ऑफ इनेट गुडनेस है, जो हमारे अंदर है गुडनेस, ये आइडिया भी चैलेंज होता है. बिकॉज इफ मैन इज इनहेरेंटली गुड, इफ मैन इज इनेटली गुड, देन हाउ वुड यू एक्सप्लेन दिस मैसिव स्लॉटर which was taking place under the veil of the First World War. तो कौन सी आइडियोलॉजी, कौन सी ह्यूमन आइडियोलॉजी इस तरह की इनोसेंट स्लॉटर को परमिट करेगी? सो कहीं ना कहीं there was a realization that we are not progressing, we are not evolving, we are not becoming better by the day. There is a regression. There is something which is inherently evil in us. हम तो अच्छे हो ही नहीं सकते. अगर हम इस तरह की चीज़ कर सकते हैं, अगर हम इस तरह की चीज़ को प्रमोट कर सकते हैं, तो हमें अच्छाई है कहाँ? So if you look at the modernist texts, all modernist writers, particularly in the field of novel writing, they are concerned with this darkness in the human heart. ये जो darkness जो इससे पहले नहीं पता था कि थी, and then suddenly you realize that you have to encounter the wilderness within you. You have to encounter the darkness within you. So one very characteristic text of the modernist period is Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. So the Heart of Darkness is about, certainly it is about imperialism, it is about colonialism, it is about Africa, it is about Belgium, it is also about the European world at large. But it is also an existential text which is about, man. It is about man in capital letters, and within whose heart, there is darkness. Or as the title itself is very ambiguous, it is a heart of darkness. So heart of darkness के दो मीनिंग निकलते हैं, या तो darkness का heart या तो heart which is made up of darkness. So it is an ambiguous title in itself, which will qualify, which will allow both kinds of readings. So whether you are trying to, for example, the heart of the matter is the center of the matter, focus of the matter, है ना? There's a book called Heart of the Matter, Graham Greene की है. So heart of the matter would be center of the matter. वैसे ही heart of darkness could be the center of darkness. But at the same time, it could be a heart which is full of darkness. So the text, although it is about many other things, is also an existential text that points out, to modern man's darkness within. कि हमारे अंदर वो कैसा darkness है जो हम खुद भी नहीं समझ पाते हैं, जो हम खुद भी explain नहीं कर पाते हैं. And how do we deal with that darkness? Is it necessary for the evil within to manifest itself outside, or can the evil within be veiled within? इसको हम अंदर ही रख सकते हैं और शायद हम इसको बाहर लाने से, उसके destructive use से हम बच सकते हैं. So questions regarding this, questions about questions which concern human identity, which concern human behavior, human nature, these are predominant, in modernist texts. And I said that postmodernism comes after modernism. It is a period which coincides with the development of the Second World War, and the period after the Second World War is a period which we know as the postmodernist period, which was a period that refused to believe and which refused to search for any certainty. So modernist period में certainties explode तो हुए थे, but people were still trying to go on with whatever they had left with them. So maybe there were many frontiers or many doors to meaning which had become closed, which had fallen shut. But still there was a search for meaning, that, okay, there must be some way by which we can make unity of this disparate, fragmented experience that we are undergoing. So the modernist writers are looking for something which will anchor them, which will offer them sustenance, which will kind of, offer a center to their metaphysical search for meaning. Postmodernists, as I mentioned yesterday, they abandon the very idea of the possibility of an objective meaning. So they give up. They say that, no, we do not believe that an objective meaning is possible. We do not believe that there is something, there is a truth, there is a meaning which you have to search for. So for example, in Indian philosophy, we talk about the various ways by which we look for the truth. So the truth, T, capital letters, abstract entity. And we believe that there is something called the truth. So if there is something called the truth, only then will a search for the truth be possible. But if I negate the very idea of truth and I say ki truth, absolute truth, to kuch hota hi nahi, it is not possible. So when there is the possibility of truth itself is defeated, certainly there will be no search for it. So the postmodernisms, they stand for, they manifest that temper wherein they completely abandon the idea of objective truth. They abandon the idea of objective meaning. Objective क्या होता है? जो सबके लिए same हो, है ना? That is objective. And subjective, जो कि person to person vary करे. So they abandon the idea of an objective meaning, and they say that no objective meaning is possible. Meaning can at best be subjective. So you perceive meaning from your end, which is valid for you. I perceive it from my end, which is valid for me. And people are free to choose their own paths in the pursuit of meaning. So the postmodernists stand, as I mentioned, for a decentered universe. They say that this is a universe which does not have a center. यहाँ पर कोई authority नहीं है, कोई center नहीं है जो कि कहेगा कि हाँ, this is right and this is wrong, this is acceptable and this is unacceptable, this is justified and this is not justified. So they dismiss the idea of a very center. Postmodernism की ये जो liberty आई कि आप हर व्यू पॉइंट जो है वो इक्वली वैलिड बन जाता है, हर व्यू पॉइंट इक्वली एक्सेप्टेबल बन जाता है. This led, to the development of a number of theories in the years to come. So all the theories that we are going to talk about today, feminism and Marxism and post-colonialism, they stem from the essential freedom offered by postmodernism. So once postmodernism says that there is no absolute meaning, there is no guarantee for objective truth, then, the importance of perception comes into play. Again, when they dismantle the idea of a center, देखो जब कोई center होगा तो automatically margin भी होगी, है ना? अगर कोई सेंटर होगा तो ऑटोमेटिकली मार्जिन भी होगी. सो यू कैन लुक एट इट से एज अ सर्कल. तो अगर आप एक सर्कल ड्रॉ करेंगे, एंड ऑब्वियसली सर्कल ड्रॉ करने के लिए आपको एक सेंटर चाहिए where you will put your compass. So when you draw a circle and when you establish a center, so in drawing a circle, what do? You first establish a center. जब आप एक सेंटर चूज करते हैं उसके अराउंड ही आप सर्कल बनाते हैं, है ना. तो आप एक सर्कल बनाने में सबसे पहले सेंटर चूज करते हैं, राइट. So when you choose a center, automatically you end up forming a margin. अगर सेंटर नहीं होता तो फिर मार्जिन भी फॉर्म नहीं होता. सेंटर के साथ मार्जिन को एग्जिस्ट करता है. जैसे ही सेंटर आएगा वैसे ही मार्जिन आएगा. अगर पावर में कुछ लोग रहेंगे तो जाहिर है कुछ लोग पावरलेस भी होंगे. So it is a hierarchical relationship. There is a hierarchy at work here. अगर यहाँ पर पावर है, अगर कुछ लोग हैं जो पावरफुल हैं तो कुछ लोग जरूर हैं जो पावरलेस हैं. अगर कुछ लोग हैं जो प्रिविलेज्ड हैं तो जरूर कुछ लोग हैं जो अनप्रिविलेज्ड हैं. So these things go hand in hand. And postmodernism was talking about the idea of dismantling the structure of hierarchy. कि हायरार्की की कोई जरूरत ही नहीं है, कोई हायरार्की नहीं है, कोई बड़ा छोटा नहीं है, कोई इंफीरियर सुपीरियर नहीं है, कोई वैलिड इनवैलिड नहीं है, कोई लेजिटिमेट इलेजिटिमेट नहीं है. तो ये जो हम बाइनरीज ड्रॉ करते हैं कि अच्छा बुरा, सही गलत, यू नो, प्रॉपर इम्प्रॉपर, प्रॉपराइटी इम्प्रॉपराइटी, तो ये जो बाइनरीज हैं ये वैलिड नहीं है. There is no need for such binaries. Every perspective is equally valid. So this freedom that postmodernist thought offered allowed many movements to come to the surface which had so far, you know, non-existent थे, हम ऐसा नहीं कहेंगे, non-existent नहीं थे. So for example, it is not as if feminism you know comes to the rise particularly in the post World War period. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. फेमिनिज्म हैज ऑलवेज एग्जिस्टेड. वो मिडिल एजेस से एग्जिस्ट कर रहा है, किसी ना किसी फॉर्म में एक प्रोटेस्ट चल रहा है, एक डायलॉग चल रहा है टू यू नो टू क्वेश्चन द सेंटर. तो ये दिस इज एन ऑनगोइंग डायलॉग, बट इन अ वे ये एक इज्म भी बदलता है. इज्म, यू नो, एनीथिंग which is suffixed by the suffix ism, तो वो एक पॉलिटिकल मूवमेंट बन जाता है. सो मार्क्स वाज फाइन, बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू मार्क्सिज्म तो ये एक पॉलिटिकल मूवमेंट है. फेमिनिस्ट इज फाइन, बट व्हेन यू टॉक ऑफ फेमिनिज्म एक पॉलिटिकल मूवमेंट बन जाता है ना. गांधीज्म, नेहरूविज्म. तो इस तरह से जब हम इज्म्स लगाते हैं तो हम उसको एक पॉलिटिकल आइडियोलॉजी बना रहे हैं. तो एज अ पॉलिटिकल आइडियोलॉजी ये काइंड ऑफ रीसरफेस करता है. यू फाइंड इन द पोस्ट 1950s ये resurface करता है in a big way, and it is not resurfacing alone. As I said, there are a number of movements which are coming up together, and it is you have MEG1 का क्लास नहीं चल रहा है ये. This is someone has posted a query. We are doing the paper on literary criticism. Namita Pandit. We are doing a paper on literary criticism, which is MEG5. It is not MEG1. You get your schedule correctly. Yes. So we said that we would be talking about Marxism, feminism, and post-colonialism. Let's just begin with Marxism. So Marxism comes from the ideas of the philosopher Karl Marx. We all know about Karl Marx, more or less. कुछ तो जानते हैं, नाम नहीं सुना है ऐसा नहीं है, नाम सुना है हम लोगों ने. And we realized that Marx and his friend Friedrich Engels, they together authored a number of works, a communist manifesto most importantly, which went a long way in shaping the history of Marxism and the communist movement. So Marxism जो है, you find it emerging वही in the late Victorian period, in the late 19th century. You find that the ideas of Marx are in the air. And Karl Marx comes in at a point when you see the industrialization had flourished, it had developed. 18th century से चला के by the time you come to the 19th century, you realize that industrialization has changed, the geography of England. 19th century में जब आप आते हैं, आप realize करते हैं कि industrialization ने England की geography बदल दी है. All rural places, all very beautiful rural bucolic landscapes have been converted into urban spaces, and factories have come up, mushroomed everywhere. And these factories are not coming up alone. They are also altering the demography of an area. द पॉपुलेशन, डेमोग्राफी, पॉपुलेशन। तो ये जो फैक्ट्रीज आ रहे हैं ये उस एरिया की डेमोग्राफी को भी बदल रहे हैं, बिकॉज फैक्ट्रीज देन बिकम अ सेंटर फॉर वर्क, and you find people are moving from the rural places to these industrial centers for work. एंड जाहिर है इन इंडस्ट्रियल सेंटर्स की इतनी कैपेसिटी नहीं है, इतनी डेमोग्राफिक कैपेसिटी नहीं है कि इस इन्फ्लक्स ऑफ पॉपुलेशन को वो एकोमोडेट कर सके. सो ऑब्वियसली वो इनको हाइजीनिक हाउसिंग नहीं प्रोवाइड कर सकते. And these industrial centers then are likely to lead to the development of slums. तो साथ साथ बड़े बड़े स्लम एरियाज बन रहे हैं जहाँ पर लोग अनहाइजीनिकली रह रहे हैं, जहाँ पर जहाँ पर डिजीजेस इन्फेस्टेड हैं, जहाँ पर लोगों की लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड बहुत पुअर है. ये लोग who have been used to a different kind of life earlier, are leading very fragmented lives here. So Marx, to begin with, he talks about the process of alienation that the industrial system is bringing, right? Marx talks about an alienation that the industrial system is bringing. इंसान इस system के अंडर में ये जो division of labor वाला system है जो कि industrialization promote कर रहा है, इस division of labor में एक alienation create हो रहा है. Now कैसे create हो रहा है? So for example, you realize that जब ये division of labor का system नहीं था, तो एक जो टेलर है उसको पूरा शर्ट सीना आता था, वो पूरा शर्ट सी लेता था from beginning to end. बट अब फैक्ट्री सिस्टम में जब शर्ट्स प्रोड्यूस हो रहे हैं तो क्या हो रहा है? There's someone who is in charge only of cutting the shirt. तो इसका और कोई काम नहीं है, ये दिन भर एक ही काम करता रहता है, वो शर्ट को काटता रहता है एक पर्टिकुलर साइज में. Then there is another who is responsible for hemming. तो वो उसका और कोई काम नहीं, वो सिर्फ हेम ही करता रहता है सारा दिन. Then there is another person who is in charge of maybe stitching buttons on it. So this person has no other work but to stitch buttons. There is another one who is responsible only for stitching the buttonholes. तो ये सब बटन होल बनाते हैं. तो इस तरह से you realize that when the division of labor takes place, every person is responsible for doing a particular piece of work and nobody has any idea of the whole piece of work. तो ये जो सिस्टम है जिसमें आप आपको एक पूरी शर्ट बनानी आती थी, वो अब ऐसे फ्रैगमेंटेड हो गया है कि अब किसी को पूरी शर्ट बनानी नहीं आती है. लोगों को सिर्फ काटना आता है, या तो हेम करना आता है, या तो बटन स्टिच करना आता है, या तो बटन होल बनाना आता है, या मे बी कॉलर्स और कफ्स बनाना आता है. एंड दिस इज हाउ people are being led to specialization. स्पेशलाइजेशन हो रहा है. अब हम सिर्फ काट रहे हैं तो हम काटते काटते इतने परफेक्ट हो गए हैं काटने में कि हो सकता है कि 10 और लोगों से हम ज़्यादा बेहतर काट पा रहे हैं. तो इट इज़ ओके इन दिस वे दैट इट इज़ गिविंग मी a specialization. I'm becoming good at a particular piece of work. But at the same time, this is also what Marx tells us. It is bringing me alienation. हम पूरे होल प्रोसेस ऑफ प्रोडक्शन से बहुत दूर हो गए हैं, हम एक छोटे से एक्ट पर कॉन्सेंट्रेट कर रहे हैं. एंड कल को टुमारो इफ आई बिकम अनएम्प्लॉयड, देन व्हाट डू आई डू? मेरी स्किल्स का क्या? पहले तो मुझे शर्ट बनानी आती थी, तो मुझे अगर यहाँ से निकाल दिया जाए तो हम कहीं और जाकर शर्ट बना सकते हैं. बट नाउ आई डू नॉट नो हाउ टू मेक एन एंटायर शर्ट, so I cannot help myself by making an entire shirt. I only know how to cut a shirt. So tomorrow if I am unemployed, I may not be able, it may not be possible for me to get another same employment of this same nature. तो हो सकता है हम जिस फैक्ट्री में एम्प्लॉयमेंट मांगने जाएं वो बोले कि भाई हमारे पास काटने वाले तो बहुत हैं, हमारे पास हेम करने वाले नहीं हैं, तो आप एक काम कीजिए, आप हेम करना सीख लीजिए. So फिर से I begin from scratch. I learn to hem there, and then by the time I again acquire, some kind of expertise there, maybe I have to shift and change my job again. So एक alienation आता है when people, this division of labor, brings about a sense of alienation. It also kind of devalues human skills, and ये हमारी quality of life को overall affect करता है. This is what Marx pointed out. Then again, Marx, it was because of Marx, that the idea of, trade unions came up. आप अगर देखेंगे तो इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन की हिस्ट्री में ट्रेड यूनियंस जो हैं वो विक्टोरियन पीरियड से पहले नहीं आ रहे हैं. एंड ट्रेड यूनियंस कम अप थ्रू the ideology and the philosophy of Marx, who says that because अगर थोड़ी सी भी अगर किसी को भी इकोनॉमिक्स का आइडिया होगा, so we know that economics में there are 4 factors used for production, है ना. हम लोग जानते हैं सब कि there are 4 factors which are used for production. So you have land, you have labor, you have capital, and you have entrepreneur. 4 फैक्टर्स है, लैंड, लेबर, कैपिटल, एंटरप्रेन्योर. कॉमर्स वाले तो अच्छे से जानते होंगे. लैंड को क्या मिलता है, लैंड का प्रॉफिट क्या होता है, लैंड को क्या मिलता है, लैंड को रेंट मिलता है ना, अगेंस्ट प्रोडक्शन. लैंड का जो प्राइस है दैट इज नोन एज रेंट. सो लैंड रिसीव्स रेंट. कैपिटल को क्या मिलता है, कैपिटल को इंटरेस्ट मिलता है. सो कैपिटल इज द मनी, से द लोन दैट यू टेक फ्रॉम अ बैंक फॉर पर्पसेस ऑफ योर बिजनेस, एंड उसके अगेंस्ट में आप क्या पे करते हैं, तो आप इंटरेस्ट पे करते हैं. सो कैपिटल रिसीव्स इंटरेस्ट, लैंड रिसीव्स रेंट. लेबर रिसीव्स वेजेस, उसकी जो सैलरी है, उसकी जो वेजेस हैं वो लेबर को मिलती हैं. एंड द एंटरप्रेन्योर ऑब्वियसली रिसीव्स प्रॉफिट. प्रॉफिट हुआ तो हुआ, नहीं तो लॉस. तो एंटरप्रेन्योर का जो रिसीट होता है फ्रॉम द प्रोसेस ऑफ प्रोडक्शन, दैट इज द प्रॉफिट. सो लैंड को रेंट मिलता है, कैपिटल को इंटरेस्ट मिलता है, आपके लेबर को वेजेस मिलते हैं, एंड एंटरप्रेन्योर को प्रॉफिट्स मिलते हैं. Now, when you look at the pattern of economic production, तो हम देखते हैं कि कभी भी अगर थोड़ा सा भी प्राइस राइज होता है, थोड़ा सा भी इन्फ्लेशन आता है मार्केट में, तो ऑटोमेटिकली आप देखेंगे कि सबसे पहले तो बैंक्स अपना इंटरेस्ट बढ़ा देते हैं, उसके बाद मकान मालिक अपने घरों का या अपने लैंड्स का रेंट बढ़ा देते हैं, उसके बाद आप देखेंगे कि एंटरप्रेन्योर्स अपनी प्रॉफिट बढ़ा देते हैं, दे ऐड मोर मार्जिन टू द प्राइस ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स. सबसे पीछे जो रह जाता है वो है लेबर, बिकॉज लेबर की वेजेस में प्रोपोर्शनेटली वो इंक्रीज आते आते इट टेक्स क्वाइट अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, बिकॉज लेबर की वेजेस के लिए लेजिस्लेशन चाहिए. द गवर्नमेंट विल गिव ऑर्डर्स कि पे रिविजन होगा, सो होगा, सो होगा. एंड जब तक कि ये सारे ऑर्डर्स पास होते हैं और ये सारे ऑर्डर्स इन्फोर्स्ड होते हैं एंड एक्चुअल मनी जो है वो वर्कर्स के हाथ तक पहुंचती है, there is a big gap, between the decision to announce a wage rise and the actual wage rise coming into the hands of labor. तो wages के साथ ये मसला हमेशा ही रहा है कि wage rise will not, be corresponding to the receipt of the other factors of production. तो लेबर हमेशा ही एक marginalized factor of production रहा है, in the economic pattern. Marx was of the opinion that labor need not remain marginalized. ये जरूरी नहीं है कि लेबर को मार्जिनलाइज्ड ही रहना है, बिकॉज अगर हम ये मानते हैं कि हमको जॉब्स चाहिए, हमको नौकरी चाहिए, तो हमको ये भी मानना पड़ेगा कि हमारी लेबर भी इक्वली वाइटल है इकोनॉमी में. So if I need a job to sustain myself, the economy also needs my labor to sustain itself. So if we all join together, if all the labor force of a particular organization, of the entire country, if they unite together, if we form a union, तो हमारी bargaining power बढ़ सकती है. We will be able, we'll be in a better position to bargain, to negotiate with our, employers or with the other factors of production. Vis-a-vis the other factors of production, हमारी bargaining power जो है वो बढ़ सकती है if we unite. So it is Karl Marx who gave the idea of forming trade unions. It was under Marx's leadership that trade unions were first formed, and you realize that they became a very strong lobby which negotiated. Ganesh Prajapati, please stop presenting. Don't present. The contents of your screen will unnecessarily be visible to everybody. Yes. So this was a way, by which it was possible for the labor force to bargain, to negotiate with the other factors of production, and thus to empower itself. So this was another contribution that Marx made. Marx की एक और Marx is also associated, with the feminist movement. जो feminism आता है, आप देखेंगे that the feminism which has been developing so far, till the 19th century, it is more or less, there are a few people who are associated, कुछ voices हैं, but in voices को जो है एक sounder base मिलता है with the ideas of Marx. So Marx also, raises this idea that what about the domestic labor of women? उस ज़माने में, when we are talking about, of course, the Victorian period, we're talking about the second half of the 19th century. तो 19th century तक the suffragette movement, अगर हम voting rights की बात करें. Now, what is a voting right? Voting right is a privilege that allows you to cast your vote. To cast your vote means to participate in the debate of citizenship, to participate in the affairs of the state. It is to be accorded the status of a citizen, है ना? तो अगर आपके पास वोटिंग राइट्स हैं तो आप सिटीजन हैं. जब जिस पीरियड की हम बात कर रहे हैं उस समय ओनली द वाइट aristocratic class, the white male aristocracy had the right to cast a vote. It is established that till the middle of the 19th century it was only the white male aristocracy. मतलब पहला तो मेल होना चाहिए, दूसरा कि वो एरिस्टोक्रेटिक क्लास का होना चाहिए, वो अपर क्लास का होना चाहिए, जेंट्री क्लास का होना चाहिए, उन्हीं के पास वोटिंग राइट्स होती थी. So the women of any class did not have the right to vote, and also the middle class and the working class people, they also had no right to vote. So it is in the context of this that that Marx raised the idea of the domestic labor of women. So Marx said that fine, women are not counted as citizens because they do not produce, they do not participate in the economic production of a nation. तो अच्छी बात है, घर पे रहती हैं इसीलिए बाहर काम नहीं कर पाती हैं, बट अगर वो वही काम जो वो घर पे करती हैं अगर वो बाहर आकर करें, will they be paid for it or not? Now if I am cooking for my own family, then I can easily stop cooking and I can hire a cook, and if I hire a cook she will charge me around at least 4,000 rupees for cooking 3 meals a day, 2 meals a day or 3 meals a day maybe. तो minimum 4,000 rupees जो है वो हमसे charge करेगी if I ask her to cook 2 meals a day. तो अगर हम अपनी फैमिली की कुकिंग खुद कर रहे हैं तो हम वो 4,000 रुपीज सेव कर रहे हैं, राइट, है ना? क्योंकि अगर हम वो ना करें तो वो हम किसी और से करवाएं तो मुझे तो 4,000 रुपीज देने होंगे. तो अगर हम खुद कर रहे हैं तो वो 4,000 रुपीज हम सेव कर रहे हैं, एंड फिर वो 4,000 रुपीज हम अर्न कर रहे हैं. इफ आई एम नॉट स्पेंडिंग इट, which means I am saving it, and if I am saving it I am adding to the family's income, so I am earning it. So इस तरह से अगर women अपने घरों में domestic labor ना करें, and the same amount of labor which they put in at home, if they do it in somebody else's house or if they do it in the factory, they are getting handsomely paid for it or whatever, some kind of payment is coming, and then they become participants in the economic labor force of the country. So Marx made a bid that he put forward this idea that women's domestic labor in the household should be counted as economic labor. They are also participating in the economy by working at home. Had they not worked at home, their family members, their husbands and their sons and all the male members of their families would not have been able to put in so much hours of work in the offices and factories that they go to. So women, by staying at home, are also participating, they're also contributing to the economy of the country, to the economy of the nation. Also Marx spoke about child care. हम जो child care करते हैं, हम अपने बच्चों को bring up करते हैं, तो people will say no big deal, आप तो obviously अपने बच्चे को bring up करेंगे, but say for instance कि इस work को भी अगर हम outsource करते हैं, if we ask someone else to bring up our children, say we send our children to boarding schools, or say we appoint governesses to look after our children, तो वो तो चार्ज करेंगे ना, वो तो फ्री में ये काम नहीं कर देंगे. सो इवन चाइल्ड बेयरिंग, चाइल्ड रेयरिंग, एंड जब से देखो, जब से सरोगेसी की बात आई है, व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट सरोगेट प्रेगनेंसीज एंड हैविंग चिल्ड्रन थ्रू सरोगेसी, तो ये भी एक काइंड ऑफ जो है, इवन चाइल्ड बेयरिंग देन becomes a kind of labor. It's a kind of economic labor. So these were the ideas that Marx brought into the discussion, which gave a boost to the ideas which were already in the air about female emancipation and about women's equality. ये सारे ideas थे, and Marx contributed to the debate by highlighting the fact that women, it is not as if women are mere economic consumers. Excuse me. So they are also, they are very much producers, they are very much contributors to the economy, and the work that they do by staying at home is equally, is equally productive, and it should also be counted in national labor and in national output. So these ideas that Marx put forward led to the development of a form of literary criticism which we call Marxism. Marxism क्या believe करता है? Marxism believe करता है that class social class, social class in the sense of lower class, working class, higher class, upper class. So Marxism believes that class is a very important, a factor in literary production. Any work will have its own class origins. Any work of art will have its own class origins. So works which are composed by members of the higher class, the bourgeois class, the business class, the bourgeois class, the business class, the higher class, the aristocratic class, the working class. So any class will have its own affiliations, will have its own culture, will have its own philosophy or ideology to promote. तो हर एक क्लास की अपनी लीनिंग्स होती है, अपनी सोशियोलॉजिकल कल्चरल इन्वेस्टमेंट्स होते हैं, और कोई भी वर्क जो है अगर हम उसके क्लास एफिलिएशन को स्टडी करें तो उस वर्क के नए डायमेंशंस, नए मीनिंग्स हमको मिल सकते हैं. So Marxism put forward the idea that social class was a very important domain or a very important methodology of the study of literary texts. Marxism ये मानता है कि कल्चर जो है, कल्चर से हम क्या मीन करते हैं? हम मीन करेंगे कल्चर विल बी बुक्स, culture will be films, culture will be songs, culture will be painting, dance, folklores, dances. तो जो जिन सारी चीज़ों को हम कल्चर कहते हैं, मार्क्स कहता है कि ऐसा लगता है कि there are two sets of people, there is one set of people who are doing manual work, जो कि physical labor कर रहे हैं, and there is another set of people who are doing intellectual work, who are who are the so-called intellectuals, who are writing novels and poems and plays and what not, है ना. तो ऐसा लगता है as if इन दोनों classes के बीच में कुछ common नहीं है. They are doing physical work, they are doing intellectual work, and they are of course the more privileged ones, जो intellectual labor कर रहे हैं, जो AC में बैठकर अपने offices में काम कर रहे हैं, उनको ज़्यादा payment मिलता है as compared to the people जो कि सड़क पर धूप में सब्जी बेच रहे हैं या कोई और काम कर रहे हैं. So Marx said कि इस तरह की जो disparity है, that the person who is physically earning more, physically laboring more, वो less earn करे, और वो जो इंसान है जो कि कम लेबर कर रहा है, जो कि intellectual labor कर रहा है, वो ज़्यादा earn करे. इसके पीछे there is an entire background. वो जो सब्जी बेच रहा है, जाहिर है उसको एजुकेशन नहीं मिला है, और उसको एजुकेशन नहीं मिला इसीलिए वो ऑफिस में काम नहीं कर पा रहा है, और उसको एजुकेशन नहीं मिला है बिकॉज ही कुड नॉट अफोर्ड एन एजुकेशन, हिज पेरेंट्स कुड नॉट अफोर्ड टू सेंड हिम टू स्कूल. तो उसके पीछे फिर उसकी फैमिली की इकोनॉमिक कंडीशंस हैं. तो जब तक आप इन इकोनॉमिक कंडीशंस को ट्रांसेंड नहीं कर जाते, इससे आगे बढ़ नहीं जाते, तब तक तो फिर आप इंटेलेक्चुअल लेबर फोर्स में पार्टिसिपेट नहीं कर सकते until you can get rid of the basic things, है ना, रोटी कपड़ा मकान, ये जो बेसिक नीड्स को जब आप मीट करेंगे, जब आप मीट कर पाएंगे, then only you can think about higher things. You will not be able to come out of this vicious circle of poverty by simply creating good works of art. बहुत अच्छा है, आप क्रिएट कर रहे हैं, बट ये आप कैसे क्रिएट कर पा रहे हैं? आप अगर हम अपने घर में बैठकर, आज हम लैपटॉप खोलकर, आई एम गिविंग यू ऑल अ लेक्चर सिटिंग वेरी कंफर्टेबली एट होम, आई एम एबल टू डू इट बिकॉज देयर आर सो मेनी पीपल वर्किंग फॉर मी, है ना. इतने सारे लोग जो हैं वो काम करते हैं टू अलाउ मी द काइंड ऑफ प्रिविलेज्ड लाइफ दैट आई एम लीडिंग. So Marx says that we cannot assume that there is no connection between the manually working class and the intellectually working class. He says कि जितने सारे intellectual products हैं, जितने सारे so called cultural products हैं, books, films, whatever, ये सब जो है वो rely करते हैं एक sound economic base पर. अगर वो economic base मजबूत ना हो तो फिर ये जो ऊपर का स्ट्रक्चर बना है, फिल्म्स, बुक्स, फैंसी पार्टीज, फैशन ट्रेंड्स, ये सब कुछ लास्ट नहीं करेगा. The economy has to be sound in order to allow the flourishing of a cultural superstructure. So Marxist criticism में you will come across these two words, one is base and one is superstructure. तो base जो है, according to Marx, this base is provided by the working class, by the labor class, जो कि खून पसीना बहाकर एक बेस तैयार कर रहा है. And it is because there are people who are working in the field harvesting crops for us. There are people who are, who are making cotton, and they are making the production of clothes possible. They are making of the production of all those articles possible. It is because production is there that I can consume them. ठीक है, मेरे पास purchasing power है, but ये purchasing power would be valueless if there is no production. So ये सब जो हो पा रहा है, it is because of that economic base. एंड वो इकोनॉमिक बेस अगर स्ट्रॉन्ग ना हो, तो फिर ये जो कल्चरल सुपर स्ट्रक्चर है ऑफ वेरी नाइस बुक्स एंड पोएम्स एंड फिल्म्स एंड म्यूजिक, ये पूरा सुपर स्ट्रक्चर कोलैप्स कर जाएगा. तो ये सुपर स्ट्रक्चर जो है वो इस बेस से ही अपना सस्टेनेंस ड्रॉ कर रहा है. एंड एक मार्क्सिस्ट क्रिटिसिज्म, एक मार्क्सिस्ट एनालिसिस का ये काम होगा कि वो किसी भी लिटरेरी वर्क में इस बेस और सुपर स्ट्रक्चर को पहचाने, इस बेस और सुपर स्ट्रक्चर को आइडेंटिफाई करे, रीडर्स तक पहुंचाए, इस किसी वर्क ऑफ आर्ट की जो क्लास रिलेशनशिप्स है उसको स्टडी करे, एंड उसको स्टडी करके पता लगाए कि फिर क्लास जो है इस नॉवेल में कैसा रोल प्ले करता है, वो कैसे कैरेक्टर्स के बिहेवियर को स्टिमुलेट करता है, एंड हाउ डज एन अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ क्लास affect our understanding of a particular work of art, right? So Marxism is talking about all these things. I will stop here so that if you have any questions on Marxism, you can ask me. So we'll go, step by step. So I am welcoming questions from you regarding all these things that I have said about Marx's ideas right now. Then only will I go over to feminism.
Good evening, ma'am. Myself Vishal from Chandrapura.
Yes, good evening.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Vishal, I can hear you. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes, ma'am. As you told that the suffragette movement allowed to promote the women in our society, is it right, or what is it, ma'am? Actually, I want to know.
We will come to that. We will come to this. The suffragette movement was the movement which was going on regarding voting rights. It was a demand on the part of women to have voting rights, to have the rights to vote. And this movement, gained impetus from Marx's ideas. When Marx said that women are also contributors to the economy, they are also part of the labor force, even if they are not going out of their houses to work. Their domestic labor should also be counted as economic labor. So these ideas empowered women, to go ahead in the movement to demand voting rights. Because if, of course, they're participating in the economy, they should be given the entitlement of a citizen. Okay. Yes, Vishal?
It means the Karl Marx promoted this idea.
Yes, it was Marx who spoke about the domestic labor of women. That domestic labor should also be counted as economic labor. It was Marx who first put forth this idea. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes, SS Singh, you can please unmute yourself and ask your question. That will be more clear to me. Ravi Sharma has a question. I could not get you, Ravi. This isn't a utopian ideology. Which isn't a utopian ideology?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Hello. Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, what is the role of Karl Marx in literature, and why do we study about Karl Marx in literature? Means, what is his role in literature writing and all?
Yes. Who is this questioning?
SS Singh, Shiv Shankar Singh. SS Singh.
Okay. So you are asking, please repeat your question once again.
Ma'am, my question is that like Karl Marx had, we know about him that he brought about many changes in social changes. So what is his role in literature, and why do we study about him in literature? How did he influence literature? That I want to basically know. Because whatever he did was all social.
You see, literature is not different from society, right? So when we are talking
Okay.
about literature, literature का कोई डोमेन या सोसाइटी का कोई ऐसा डोमेन नहीं है जो कि लिटरेचर टच नहीं करता हो, right? There is no
Okay.
domain in society which literature does not touch. So if there is someone who is trying to transform society, of course,
Yeah.
literature needs to take such a person into account, and it needs to understand, how the ideas of such a person influenced society and the kind of changes that were brought, है ना? तो
Okay. Yeah.
लिटरेचर सिर्फ इट इज कोई भी ऐसा डोमेन नहीं कह सकते हैं हम जो कि लिटरेचर में नहीं आता हो, सब कुछ लिटरेचर में आता है. दैट इज द बेस्ट थिंग अबाउट लिटरेचर, राइट?
Okay. Yeah.
Did you get it?
So ma'am, we can relate that
हाँ.
whatever revolutions have taken place, or if we talk about like Bhagat Singh and all, they were all affected by Marxism. So that was all the Marxism literature.
अब हम भगत सिंह के बारे में तो नहीं कह सकते, मुझे बहुत आइडिया तो नहीं है कि कहाँ तक मार्क्सिज्म. Now see, no theory is perfect, right? Again,
Yeah,
there is always a difference between theory and practice, है ना? तो कोई theory कितनी भी अच्छी हो, for example बुद्धिज्म, है ना? बुद्धिज्म तो बहुत अच्छी theory है, उसमें तो कोई fault नहीं है. It is supposed to Buddhism is supposed to have changed the Emperor Ashoka, है ना? It's such a wonderful theory. But then look at what is happening in Sri Lanka right now, है ना? श्रीलंका में बुद्धिस्ट प्रिंसिपल्स को कैसे एक मिलिटेंट डायरेक्शन दिया जा रहा है टू डिस्क्रिमिनेट अगेंस्ट अ सर्टेन ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल. तो अगर हम कहें कि बुद्धा गलत है तो दैट वुड बी रॉन्ग, इजंट इट? सो देयर इज ऑलवेज अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन थियरी एंड प्रैक्टिस. प्रैक्टिस विल ऑलवेज डिपेंड अपॉन द प्रैक्टिशनर कि वो किस तरह से उसको प्रैक्टिस कर रहा है. तो अगर कोई थियरी विच इज एज पीस लविंग एज द बुद्धिस्ट फिलोसफी, अगर उसको भी आदमी मिलिटेंसी से कलर कर दे और उसका यूज करे, है ना, तो फिर क्या किया जा सकता है? They may say that हम theoretically सही हैं, but then theory का interpretation तो खुद पर depend करता है ना? So that is why we can Marx ने अपने जमाने में अपने context में उसने अपने आसपास की society जो देखी and the ideas that he had in his time were very revolutionary, and of course they were intended to bring about justice, है ना? क्योंकि कोई न्यू आइडियोलॉजी जब आती है तो उसका इंटेंशन तो यही रहता है कि वो एक मोर इक्विटेबल वर्ल्ड बनाए. वर्ल्ड में कुछ फ्लॉज होते हैं, तभी एक नई थियरी की जरूरत पड़ती है कि उसको थोड़ा ज्यादा इक्विटेबल बनाया जाए, थोड़ा ज्यादा इक्वल बनाया जाए. सो ही डिड इट विद हिज बेस्ट इंटेंशंस, बट देन उसके जो डिस्टॉर्शंस आते हैं, we cannot neglect that it led to the rise of communalism, and communism के जो उसका जो negative side है, all of us have seen that, है ना? So that is there, that is always there. We cannot.
So ma'am, are there any literary works of Marx, Karl Marx, and a few examples, ma'am?
No, Marx had no literary works. He did not write literature as such. He wrote theory. He wrote his ideas on society, his ideas on communal life, on communal polity. तो उसके आइडियाज को हम लोगों ने जो है
writers में follow किया.
For example, okay, you have a question which is very similar to I think, for example, like Monica has also asked this question, that are there novels and poems that highlight Marxist theory? अब हम highlight के बारे में तो हम नहीं कह सकते, but हम interpret कर सकते हैं. For example, you take आप लोगों के I think MEG novel के syllabus में you have a novel Wuthering Heights, है ना?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Wuthering Heights is there in your syllabus, and many of you may have read that already. तो Wuthering Heights क्या है? On the face of it, it is a love story, है ना? एक simple सी love story है. It is about two people, Catherine and Heathcliff, है ना? But at the same time, you can also study Wuthering Heights from a Marxist perspective. जब हम Wuthering Heights को एक Marxist perspective से study करते हैं, तो हम realize करते हैं कि Heathcliff का जो सबसे बड़ा जो गुनाह था, वो यही था कि he came from a lower social class, है ना? Heathcliff comes from a lower social class as compared to the Earnshaws, which is why Hindley is continuously discriminating, है ना? Later on you realize जब Heathcliff बाहर जाता है and he comes back with a lot of money, the same Heathcliff who who had not been a good choice for Catherine. Catherine herself
welcome.
rejects Heathcliff because Heathcliff comes from a lower social class. है ना?
Yes,
She
sir.
marries
Yes.
Edgar only because Edgar is economically he's more suitable to be her partner. है ना? So when
Yes, ma'am.
Heathcliff comes back with a lot of money, you realize that the same Heathcliff who had not been considered a good choice for Catherine can now
Yeah.
be Isabella's husband. है ना? इजाबेला भी
Yeah,
तो
yes.
उसी सोशल क्लास को बिलोंग करती है, बल्कि
Yes,
अर्नशॉ
ma'am.
से भी लिंटन्स का सोशल क्लास थोड़ा और ज्यादा हाई था. So Isabella
Yeah,
is
yeah.
more a lady than Catherine Earnshaw was. And
Acha.
Heathcliff, because he has money now, is capable
Yeah.
of becoming Isabella's husband. तो ये
Yes.
उस सोसाइटी की जो क्लास आइडियोलॉजीज है वो एक मार्क्सिस्ट रीडिंग हमको रिवील कर सकता है और हमको कैरेक्टर्स के बारे में बता सकता है that despite Catherine being so much in love with Heathcliff, she still is very committed to her class prejudices. वो इतनी prejudiced है about class that her
Yeah.
immense love for Heathcliff also cannot bring her to marry him. ना?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
when
Yes,
you
yes.
bring into account study of class in this novel, you will find that many aspects of your reading will also change. समझे?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Then
Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
you read
Ma'am.
Jane Austen's novels from a Marxist perspective, you will find that reading Austen's novels from a Marxist perspective will also bring about a change in your perception of Jane Austen as a writer. ठीक है? तो
Hello, ma'am. Am
ये
I
एक
audible?
पर्सपेक्टिव है, ये एक तरीका है टेक्स्ट पढ़ने का. It is not the method, but it is one of the many methods.
Hello, ma'am. Am I
Yes,
audible?
voice
Yes,
is
ma'am.
not
Thank you.
clear. Yes, you are audible. Yes. All of you muted. सारे लोग muted हैं. Your Tim is
Hello,
not
ma'am.
muted.
Can
I
you hear
think
me?
he's creating the problem. Your Tim, whoever you are, please
No,
mute
I'm
yourself. Jamshed, if you are here, please mute Tim. Yes, echo is because of this. Your Tim की जो microphone है वो muted नहीं है. वहाँ से काफी disturbances आ रहा है. Yes, good. Thank you. Yes, now I think it is clear. Yes. So, Marxism is just, Marxist perspective is just one of the many perspectives through which we can read and we can try to understand literature and make more meaning out of it. So it is not, as I said, the perspective नहीं है. ऐसा नहीं है कि इसके बिना हम literary works को appreciate नहीं कर सकते. ऐसा नहीं है. But it is one of the many ideas through which maybe we can, understand a piece of work more. Does that clarify all of you? Are there more questions on this? Do we have more questions on this?
Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am. I have one question.
Yes, please introduce yourself before asking your question.
My name is Afsar Ahmed, ma'am. I'm from Kodarma, Jharkhand.
Yes.
My question is, when did Marxism philosophy emerge, ma'am? In which year?
Marxism emerged, of course, with the arrival of Marx's and Engels' Communist Manifesto. It is in the late 19th century. I don't remember the exact year, but I think वही 1860s, 70s के बीच का ये है work.
And any
Right.
famous,
So,
contemporary, ma'am, which can relate?
Any famous?
Contemporary, which can I relate?
Any famous contemporary? नहीं, I don't get you. क्या पूछना चाहते हो?
I'm saying Marx is right there. So any contemporary of Marx, which I can relate to him.
मार्क्स से ही तो मार्क्सिज्म शुरू हुआ बाबू. तो मार्क्स का कोई contemporary, obviously all these people are contemporaries who are writing in the Victorian period. You have Charles Dickens who is writing in the Victorian period. You have Thomas Hardy. These people were writing. Marxist theorists, बहुत सारे theorists हैं. One very famous Marxist theorist is Terry Eagleton. मेरी खुद की आवाज मुझे echo करके आ रही है. I do not understand ये कहाँ से हो रहा है. So there are many Marxist critics, who are working with Marxism. Echo क्यों हो रहा है? It is coming, right?
others can mute so that echo not come.
Mhm. Yes. So, are there more questions on this, or do we proceed to feminism? Can we move ahead, or are
Yes,
there
ma'am,
more
I have a
questions?
question. I am Ravi Sharma from Dhanbad, Jharkhand.
Yes. Go ahead.
Ma'am, this isn't a utopian theory of this is Marxism and
Yes.
it is implemented.
I cannot hear you, Ravi, properly. फोन भी आ रहा है.
Ma'am, how can we implement this theory?
Implement.
Yes, ma'am.
Implement नहीं करना है. Marxism, as far as literature is concerned, or as far as this particular paper is concerned, we are talking about this being one of the many approaches towards a literary text. है ना? तो अगर आपको मार्क्सिस्ट पर्सपेक्टिव से
So,
किसी
ma'am,
टेक्स्ट को
this
आप
isn't
एनालाइज
a
करना
utopian
चाहते हैं,
theory. Utopian ideology, I
बोलो.
think.
देखो, यूटोपिया क्या है? यूटोपिया इज व्हाट? यूटोपिया इज अ बेटर फ्यूचर, है ना?
Ma'am,
यूटोपिया इज वेयर थिंग्स आर परफेक्ट. तो हर थियरी अपने आप को यूटोपियन ही समझती है. जितने सारे थियरिस्ट्स होते हैं वो यही सोचते हैं कि हम जो थियरी ला रहे हैं वो यूटोपिया लेकर आएगी. तो ये जितने सारे जो टेररिस्ट्स भी हैं हम लोगों के, वो भी यही सोचते हैं कि वो जो कर रहे हैं उससे यूटोपिया आने वाला है. So utopia would be a very, very subjective idea. Your utopia would be different from my utopia, would be different from somebody else's utopia. तो नक्सलाइट्स को भी लगता है कि वो यूटोपिया लाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, जिहादीज को भी लगता है वो यूटोपिया लाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, आरएसएस वालों को भी लगता है वो यूटोपिया लाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. हाँ, तो there are a multiplicity of utopias from a multiplicity of perspectives. So every theory is utopian in that sense that they want to change the world to give it a better direction and to kind of wipe away its imperfections. But then again, as I said, कि every utopia will have its own set of prejudices. हम कभी भी उस लेवल ऑफ इक्वालिटी तक तो नहीं पहुंच सकते जहां पर कि हम सबको इंक्लूड कर लें. तो जब हम इंक्लूजन स्टार्ट करते हैं तो वहां पर ऑटोमेटिकली एक्सक्लूजन भी वर्क करता है. तो नो थियरी कैन सैटिस्फाई एवरीवन. देयर विल ऑलवेज बी and should not satisfy everyone. अगर ऐसा हो गया कि एक थियरी मिल गई जिससे कि सबका काम बन जाता है, तो फिर तो ह्यूमन सिविलाइजेशन में और ह्यूमन आइडियाज में प्रोग्रेस ही बंद हो जाएगा, है ना? तो ये चलते रहना चाहिए. दिस इज अ कंटिन्यूअस मूवमेंट. ये चलते रहना चाहिए कि एक थियरी के, एक आइडियोलॉजी के फ्लॉज डिस्कवर हों और उन फ्लॉज को रेक्टिफाई करने में हम दूसरी आइडियोलॉजी बनाएं. राइट? दिस इज एन ऑनगोइंग प्रोसेस.
okay, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. Harvinder here.
Yes.
Ma'am,
Yes,
I want to ask that was Karl Marx criticized by other theorists? When he gave his theory, was he criticized by the other theorists?
Was he?
Criticized.
I failed to hear you, Harvinder.
Was he
criticized?
Yes, ma'am, by the other theorists. What were their points of criticism?
Karl Marx was criticized or not? Yes, of course. When something new comes up, there can be no idea, which is free from contention. There can be no idea which is free from critics. So no particular idea will be palatable, will be acceptable to everyone. तो सारे लोग तो नहीं हजम कर जाएंगे. And Marx showed affiliation for the working classes. He showed affiliation for the women's cause. तो जाहिर है कि उसको बहुत इजीली कंज्यूम कर पाना बहुत सारे लोगों के लिए, वो स्टेटस को चैलेंज कर रहा था. तो जाहिर है एरिस्टोक्रेसी को उसकी बातें पसंद नहीं आएंगी, पैट्रियार्क्स को उसकी बातें पसंद नहीं आएंगी. So of course there were critics in his own time. There remain critics of Marxism today. Nevertheless, as an ideology, as a literary practice, Marxism has its own merits also. It has its own weaknesses also. उसकी वीकनेस ये है कि वो हर चीज को क्लास से इक्वेट कर देता है, क्योंकि उसका फोकस ही है क्लास को लेकर स्टडी करना. मार्क्सिज्म बिगिंस विद द स्टडी ऑफ क्लास. वो किसी भी लिटरेरी वर्क पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट करेगा क्लास रिलेशनशिप्स पे. राइट? वो देखेगा कि यहाँ पर जो है क्या क्या क्लासेस. फॉर एग्जाम्पल जेन ऑस्टन की एक बहुत फेमस नॉवेल है मैन्सफील्ड पार्क. है ना. तो मैंसफील्ड पार्क पर तो यूं तो it's a simple enough novel, but then a Marxist critic will focus his attention on the fact कि मैंसफील्ड पार्क जो पूरी प्रॉपर्टी है, वो पूरी प्रॉपर्टी का जो ओनर है उसने ये प्रॉपर्टी खड़ी की है थ्रू स्लेव ट्रेड इन इन अफ्रीका. तो वो जो है once this piece of information comes to you, then automatically the perception of the characters and their relationships and their their ideas will change for you as a critic. तो आप सोचेंगे कि अच्छा ये इनकी क्लास एफिलिएशन है, ये लोअर क्लास के लोगों से ऐसे अप्रोच करते हैं, इनकी क्लास प्रेजुडिस है ना. सो Marxist criticism tries to reduce everything to class, just as feminist criticism will try to reduce everything to inequality between men and women. तो ये तो हर critical school के साथ ये तो एक flaw है कि क्योंकि वो एक चीज पर concentrate करते हैं तो वो बाकी चीजों को negate करते हैं. But then this is how the world goes, है ना. हम लोग तो ये मानकर चल रहे हैं अभी कि या तो हम jack of all trades बन सकते हैं या तो हम master of none बन सकते हैं, है ना. We cannot be the jack of all trades also and we cannot be the master of all trades also. तो ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. तो there has to be a choice between specializing in one field and knowing everything. तो फिर थियरी वही करता है कि एक थियरी जो है वो एक फील्ड में एक पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू को प्रिविलेज करता है एंड दूसरे पॉइंट्स ऑफ व्यू को जो वो है निगेट करता है. सो मार्क्सिज्म फोकसेस on class relationships within a text and it tries to interpret everything through this particular window. ठीक है. So every theory is like a window. It looks at जैसे एक विंडो जो आपको व्यू ऑफर करेगा वो फिक्स्ड होगा, है ना. मान लो कि आपके कमरे में 3 खिड़कियां हैं, तो वो 3 खिड़कियां क्या व्यू देती हैं वो आपको पहले से पता है. कोई खिड़की वो इट इज ओवरलुकिंग द रोड, तो वो हमेशा ही इट विल कीप ओवरलुकिंग द रोड. कोई एक विंडो है विच इज ओवरलुकिंग अ पार्क, मे बी इट विल ऑलवेज ओवरलुक द पार्क. कोई एक विंडो है विच इज ओवरलुकिंग से एन एयरपोर्ट, इट विल ऑलवेज ओवरलुक द एयरपोर्ट. तो विंडो फिक्स्ड है. एवरी क्रिटिकल थियरी इज लाइक अ विंडो. It is fixed. It is telling you that this is the way I look upon the world, and it is up to you whether you want to look out from that window or not. ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है कि आपको उस विंडो से देखना ही देखना है ना. You may choose to look out from it, and you may choose another window. ठीक है.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yes, Shaw, Sonam Kumari, George Bernard Shaw, was a big socialist, right? Shaw was a big socialist. He was very profoundly influenced by, socialist ideas. He was a member of the Fabian Society, which was a socialist society. And therefore, in all of Shaw's works, not only Pygmalion, but in all of Shaw's works, you will find strong traits of Marxist philosophy. Yes, good.
Ma'am, who was the greatly influenced by the Marxism philosophy?
Yes. Yes.
Was there anyone who was greatly influenced by the Marxism philosophy in 19th century?
So as already Sonam has mentioned, George Bernard Shaw, was an exponent of socialism in his own time. And George Bernard Shaw was in turn inspired by the Norwegian dramatist Henrik Ibsen. तो Henrik Ibsen जो है वो भी अपने plays में एक strong socialist base रखते हैं. And you have many writers from that period. For example, you have George Orwell, who is also influenced by socialist ideas. तो ऐसे करके there are many people, almost see every idea, even Hardy, even Thomas Hardy for that matter, in his novels, they may not be very explicit, बहुत easily पता तो नहीं चलता है, but then Hardy के novels में भी you find that there is a turn towards socialism. तो जाहिर है कि कोई every age has its own biases, has its own preferences, has its own prejudices, and the late 19th century was a period when Marxist ideas were on the go, they were in the air, and many important intellectuals of the period, they are participating in this debate. They are trying to reflect these ideas through their literary works. Charles Dickens also was an important socialist. You look at his novels, Oliver Twist and Hard Times and Little Dorrit. What is he doing? He's also talking about the common man. He's talking about the labor class. He's talking about how to make things more equal for them, how to bring social justice. Oliver Twist is all about the poor law and how to bring social justice to the common people. So Victorians largely, came under the influence of Marx's ideas. Yes. Are there more questions? Are there more questions from Marxism, or we can go ahead to talk about feminism? No more questions? So can we talk about feminism? We have some
Yes,
20
ma'am.
minutes left, I think. Yes.
Ma'am,
So
actually,
yes, we
I have a
can.
question.
Yes, go ahead. This is Mehzabeen, I think.
Oh, yes, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm
Yes.
Malika. So, ma'am, I would like to ask that you yourself says that Marxism when we just add ideology to Marx. Okay, so
A
would
little
the
slower, Mehzabeen. I'm unable to hear you very properly. Once again, please.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, I would like to ask that you just said that when we add ideology to a particular person is called Marxism, like Nehruism or something. So I was reading the criticism of Marx, so I just found it complicated to understand that Marx represented ideology as a superstructure. So I did not understand how did you understand ideology as a superstructure. What is it?
I told you, what Marx tries to talk about when he talks about base and superstructure. So the base is the actual economic labor which is done by the by the factors of economic production, है ना? वो base है. उसके बिना, for example, if you are hungry, it will be difficult for you to write a poem or a play or a novel. Okay, so Marx's idea is that the entire cultural framework of a society is dependent upon its economic base. So once you have a sound economic base, you can build a superstructure around it. And this superstructure is the superstructure of culture made up of, literature, painting, music, films, everything, would come in superstructure. So ideology is also part of this superstructure. Ideology से पेट नहीं भरने वाला है. The ideology that you have will not make a difference. But आर्ट क्या करता है, कल्चर क्या करता है, वो एक पर्टिकुलर आइडियोलॉजी को प्रमोट करता है. सो इफ कल्चर इज अ पार्ट ऑफ द सुपरस्ट्रक्चर, देन सर्टेनली आइडियोलॉजी विल आल्सो बी अ पार्ट ऑफ द सुपरस्ट्रक्चर. Got it? So superstructure मतलब the idea is ऊपर से बना हुआ. So one is the base and उसके ऊपर जो structure है. So Marx gives us the idea of a dome. एक dome अगर आपने देखा होगा. So dome is just एक नीचे there is a horizontal base and you have a structure on it. So this is the superstructure. This is the cultural superstructure on the economic base. And Marx insists that if the base is taken away, the superstructure will collapse. So the superstructure, not validity or any strength to survive on its own. It depends upon the base. So if the base is taken away, the superstructure will collapse. Yes. Do you get that, Mehzabeen?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes, do we have other questions? Or do we move ahead? Okay, fine. So we move ahead to talk about feminism, and I will take off from, now feminism is something that does not need much explanation because all of us in a way understand what feminism is. However, I would like to draw your attention to three particular words that we often use, and perhaps we use it without paying much attention to them. So you have three words. One is female, right? I'll type out these words. So you have female, and you have feminine, and you have feminist, right? So look at the three words that I have typed out for you. One is female, the other is feminine, and the third is feminist. Now all of these three words have a common root, femme. Femme in French is woman. So all these three words are talking about women. However, they are talking about women from different dimensions. So female would refer to the biological dimension of being a woman, the biological fact. Female is the biological fact of being a woman, right? So female is the biological fact of being a woman. So people are born males or females, right? They are born males or females. And this is something which is not in our control or in anybody else's control. If you are born a boy or if you're born a girl, who will grow up to be a man or a woman. So female is a biological, it's a term that refers to the biology of an individual. And then you have the term, feminine. Now, feminine is a cultural term. It is a cultural identification. It is a cultural identification of someone as woman, of someone, just a second. Yes, of someone as being. Look at this, feminine. Feminine is, as I tell you, is the cultural identification of someone as being female. तो एक तो female जो कि एक biological category है, somebody is a born male or a born female. पर जब हम feminine कहते हैं, तब हम कहते हैं कि वो एक cultural term है जो कि identify करता है कि कोई woman, कोई female है. Now, feminine would be opposed to the term masculine. So masculine is a cultural identification of someone as being a male. Feminine is the cultural identification of someone as being a female. Now, how does male and female differ from masculine and feminine? अब masculine कौन है या masculinity क्या है या feminine कौन है और femininity क्या है, ये कौन decide करता है? ये एक culture decide करता है. A culture will decide, what it will choose to call masculine and what it will choose to call feminine. And this would vary from one culture to another. So, for example, you have the culture, for example, look at our culture. हम लोग जिस culture में हैं या कुछ सालों पहले तक थे, क्योंकि अभी तो बहुत सारी changes हम लोगों को नजर आती हैं, कुछ साल पहले तक थे, तो boy seen crying would be told कि तुम लड़की जैसे मत रो, है ना? Boy crying would be told that तुम don't cry like a girl, don't cry like a girl, लड़कियों जैसे मत रो. My son is also in the habit of crying, and one day my mother told him कि ये तो लड़की जैसा रोता है, इसको तो लड़की होना चाहिए था. And I told her कि मत बोलो इसको ऐसा, कोई लड़की नहीं रोती है, कोई लड़की इतनी पागल नहीं है, right? So girls are not meant to cry. Now somehow when you tell someone कि don't cry like a girl, you somehow equate crying with women, crying with being a girl. तो कहीं ना कहीं कि cry करना सिर्फ लड़कियों का काम है and लड़कों का काम cry करना नहीं है. मतलब अगर एक लड़की नहीं क्राई करे और अगर एक लड़का क्राई करे तो both of them would be violating the codes of their culture. तो लड़का क्राई करे will not be masculine and लड़की क्राई नहीं करे will not be feminine, right? So when we are talking about the terms masculine and feminine, we are challenging the cultural construct of being a man or a woman. It is culture often which decides whether someone is masculine enough or someone is feminine enough. It is not the natural fact of being a man or a woman. It is the cultural, which is assigned to it. So women are expected to walk in a certain way. Men are expected to walk in a certain way. Women are expected to behave in a certain way. Men are expected to behave in a certain way. And if you look at the movies, from for example, Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind is a very famous novel. बहुत लोगों ने पढ़ा हो चाहे नहीं पढ़ा हो, नाम सुना होगा, and बहुत लोगों ने शायद मूवी भी देखी होगी, है ना? तो Gone with the Wind में एक सीन है जहाँ the O'Hara girls, they are going for a ball. उनको वो Ashley Wilkes के यहाँ invitation आया है, they have to go for a ball, and you know कि वो ball की तैयारी कैसे कर रही है, तो वो 3 दिन से खाना पीना they have left. 3 दिन से उन लोग खाना पीना बंद कर दिए क्योंकि उनको बॉल में जाना है. Now, why are they doing it? क्योंकि you realize again when you realize that they are going to the ball, तो उनकी dresses जो हैं वो पहले से वो stitched तो हैं, but उनकी borders are left unstitched. So once the sisters wear it, उनके पहनने के बाद जो है उनकी जो seamstress है, जो उनकी टेलर है, वो उनके पहनने के बाद उन ड्रेसेस के बॉर्डर्स को, उसके हेम्स को स्टिच कर रही हैं. तो मैक्सिमम वो गर्ल्स जो है व्हेन दे आर गेटिंग देयर ड्रेसेस स्टिच्ड, एकदम पहन के दे आर सकिंग द ब्रेथ विद इन देमसेल्व्स सो दैट दे कैन लुक थिनर. ये एक आइडिया है दैट दे आर ट्राइंग टू लुक थिनर. ऑल्सो it was very important for women at that time to be so delicate as to faint at a ball. एक डांस के बाद फेंट करना जरूरी होता था in order to show that you are a lady coming from a good family, from a respectable family. तो अगर आप 2 डांस 3 डांस लगातार कर लिए बिना थके तो you cannot be a lady. So a lady has to be so weak and so fragile and so tender and so delicate that she will have to faint after one dance. तो भाई naturally faint कैसे करें? Naturally तो faint करना possible नहीं है. तो फिर 3 दिन पहले से खाना पीना बंद कर दो. जब 3 दिन पहले से खाना पीना बंद कर दोगे तो ऑटोमेटिकली डांस के बाद तो फेंट कर ही जाओगे. एंड दिस इज व्हाट is revealed to us in the book, that the girls have stopped eating 2 or 3 days before the ball in preparation for the ball. This is their preparation, and the intention is to faint. And why should they faint? Not because they want to faint, but because all of them was kind of they wanted to be looked upon as ladies. They are delicate ladies, who cannot dance, who cannot have 2 dances without fainting. So look at this. This is the typical idea of that period of being feminine. अगर आप इससे थोड़ा भी डाइवर्ट करते हैं तो फिर आप फेमिनिन नहीं हैं, एंड देन सोसाइटी आपको फिर अच्छे नजर से नहीं देखेगी. आपको फिर जो है आप उसके ग्रुप के इन नहीं आएंगे, आप मेन स्ट्रीम में नहीं आएंगे, आप मार्जिन में रह जाएंगे. सो एंड this is just an idea that is different from our ideas, and more or less you realize that these ideas have remained. So a girl who is interested in physical activities will still be considered a tomboy. Now look at this word tomboy. मतलब वो गर्ल है तो वो गर्ल होकर ऐसी नहीं हो सकती. The idea is just because that she is a girl, तो वो गर्ल होकर she cannot be so physically active and so interested in sports and so naughty. So if she is like that, she has to be a tomboy. So because these are things which are naturally associated with boys. Again, boys ऐसा नहीं है कि ये सब गर्ल्स के लिए अप्लाई करता है, बॉयज के लिए भी अप्लाई करता है. सो यू हैव टू बी मैस्कुलिन. तो अगर कोई 2 थप्पड़ मारे तो तुमको भी गुस्सा कर उसको 2 थप्पड़ मारना है. यू कैन नॉट बी पीस लविंग एंड लेट इट गो, or you cannot be a coward, or you cannot choose not to be violent, because if you are not violent then you are not masculine enough. So you have so many, हम लोगों के कल्चर में तो बहुत है ना, माँ का दूध पिया है तो बाहर आओ, एंड मर्द का बच्चा है तो ऐसा करो. Now what are these are nothing but stereotypes which are forced upon us in the name of masculinity and femininity. कि आपको ऐसा होना चाहिए, अगर आप मेल हैं तो आपको ऐसा होना चाहिए, अगर आप फीमेल हैं तो आपको ऐसा होना चाहिए. So when I am talking of the term feminine, I am talking of the term with reference to masculine, and masculine and feminine are both the cultural perception of being a man or a woman. और अगर कहीं ये कल्चरल परसेप्शन वेरी करता है तो फिर तो हम उसकी आइडेंटिटी डिसाइड करने में बहुत प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट करते हैं. सो फॉर एग्जांपल यू हैव द क्वेयर आइडेंटिटी, है ना, जिसमें बायोलॉजिकली मेल है बट यू फाइंड दैट दे ड्रेस अप लाइक विमेन, और मे बी दे टॉक लाइक विमेन, और मे बी दे डांस लाइक विमेन. महेश दत्तानी की एक बहुत अच्छी प्ले है डांस लाइक अ मैन, बहुत अच्छी प्ले है. इट्स अ शॉर्ट प्ले, पतली सी बुक है, अगर कभी मिल जाए तो पढ़ लेना. It's a wonderful book that talks about this dance like a man. So कहीं ना कहीं dancing was also believed to be a female profession, है ना, a female artistic occupation. कि एक female ही will aspire to be a dancer. So in the book you have a man who wants to dance, who loves to dance, और उसके फादर को बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं है कि वो लड़का डांस करे, एंड उसके फादर उसको घर से निकाल देते हैं एंड ऑल दैट. सो द बुक इज अबाउट द मैन वांटिंग टू डांस एंड रियलाइज इट्स अबाउट मेनी अदर थिंग्स, बट इट इज ऑल्सो अबाउट दिस. सो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू टॉक अबाउट इज दिस, कि एक जो नोशन हम बना लेते हैं कि ये एक लड़का है एंड देयरफॉर इसको ऐसे ऐसे बिहेव करना चाहिए, या ये एक लड़की है एंड देयरफॉर इसको ऐसे ऐसे बिहेव करना चाहिए. जब हम ऐसा करते हैं तो हम उसको एज एन इंडिविजुअल लिमिट कर देते हैं, और हम यहाँ पर जो है we talk about cultural ideas of masculinity and femininity. Next, you come to the third term that I have mentioned here, which is feminist. Now, feminist is different from female, which is, as I said, a biological indicator. It's different from feminine, which is a cultural indicator. Feminist is a political term. Feminist is a political indicator. Feminism is a political demand for equality, for gender equality. तो जब फेमिनिज्म शुरू हुआ तब जाहिर है कि हम लोगों की जो तब तक की नॉलेज थी अबाउट जेंडर एंड सेक्सुअलिटी, वो नॉलेज लिमिटेड थी टू बीइंग मेल्स एंड फीमेल्स, और थर्ड जेंडर वाली चीज़ें जो हैं वो उतनी ज़्यादा फोकस में नहीं आई थी. सो व्हेन फेमिनिज्म बिगैन, इट वाज बिगैन एज अ पॉलिटिकल मूवमेंट फॉर क्लेमिंग द इक्वालिटी ऑफ विमेन विथ मेन. लेकिन ग्रेजुअली एज डिस्कोर्स जो है वो डाइवर्सिफाई होता गया और जेंडर क्रिटिसिज्म में और वॉइसेस आती गई, तो अब फेमिनिज्म को हम ब्रॉडली अलाई करते हैं विथ जेंडर स्टडीज, जहाँ पर फेमिनिज्म इज नॉट ओनली अ डिमांड फॉर द इक्वालिटी ऑफ विमेन विथ मेन बट द इक्वालिटी ऑफ ऑल जेंडर्स टुगेदर. सो वी एडमिट टुडे नाउ दैट देयर कैन बी मेनी जेंडर्स. जेंडर जो है वो एक पहले एक फिक्स्ड नोशन था कि जेंडर या तो मेल होगा, मैस्कुलिन होगा, या फेमिनिन होगा, मेल होगा, फीमेल होगा. बट नाउ वी कम टू वी हैव एक्सेप्टेड द आइडिया दैट देयर आर मेनी जेंडर्स. ओके, तो हम ब्रॉडली जो है उसको हम थर्ड जेंडर कहते हैं, है ना. वी हैव ब्रॉडली एक्सेप्टेड. अभी तो सारे गवर्नमेंट फॉर्म्स में भी यू फाइंड दैट मेल, फीमेल एंड अदर एक आ रहा है कॉलम, है ना. सो द अदर बिलोंग्स टू द थर्ड जेंडर. हालांकि देयर आर पीपल हु आर आल्सो क्वेश्चनिंग दिस आइडिया ऑफ थर्ड, है ना. अगर हम थर्ड है तो भाई पहला कौन है और दूसरा कौन है और हम तीसरे क्यों हैं. सो थर्ड भी कहीं ना कहीं एक जो है एक इंफीरियोरिटी प्रोड्यूस कर रही है, एक हायरार्की प्रोड्यूस कर रही है. जब हम थर्ड जेंडर कह रहे हैं तो थर्ड क्यों. सो मे बी इन द डेज टू कम दिस विल ऑल्सो बी चैलेंज्ड एंड मे बी वी विल हैव सम अदर टर्म फॉर इट. बट अभी फिलहाल ये भी एक बहुत बड़ा अचीवमेंट है कि गवर्नमेंट फॉर्म्स में एंड बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट्स में हमारे पास ये ऑप्शन है कि हम अपने जेंडर को ऐसे डिक्लेयर करें. सो मेल, फीमेल एंड अदर भी एक ऑप्शन आ रहा है अब हमारे पास, which is a big accomplishment for the transgendered people. So feminism, although it began initially as a political claim for women's equality with men, feminism is not only about women being equal to men. It is about the equality for all genders. All genders should be considered equal. वो मेल हो, वो फीमेल हो, वो कोई और हो. And it is also an equality for all kinds of sexualities. हम लोग सिर्फ हेटेरोसेक्सुअलिटी की बात करते हैं, हम लोग होमोसेक्सुअलिटी को, बाइसेक्सुअलिटी को, लेस्बियंस, गेज, बहुत सारे फॉर्म्स को हम लोग निकेट कर देते हैं. सो फेमिनिज्म नाउ इज अ पार्ट ऑफ अ लार्जर ग्रुप ऑफ थियरी विच वी कॉल जेंडर स्टडीज. बहुत लोग उसको विमेन एंड जेंडर स्टडीज भी बुलाते हैं, बट देन जेंडर स्टडीज का पार्ट है फेमिनिज्म. एंड अब फेमिनिज्म सिर्फ विमेन एंड मेल में इक्वालिटी की बात नहीं करता है, वो हर एक जेंडर के बीच में इक्वालिटी की बात करता है. तो फेमिनिज्म के बारे में शायद कुछ बहुत बताने की ज़रूरत नहीं है एज सच, बट हाँ, दो तीन चीज़ें जानने की ज़रूरत है कि दिस एज आई सेड दैट ऑल्दो इट इमर्ज्ड इन अ बिग वे इन द लेट 19th century after the arrival of Karl Marx and with the rise of the suffragette movement. पहला जो political movement था वो था women suffragette movement, that is women claiming the right to vote, है ना, क्योंकि उनके पास राइट टू वोट नहीं था. सो दे फेल्ट दैट दे वर नॉट अकॉर्डेड द स्टेटस ऑफ सिटीजन्स. तो सिटीजनशिप का स्टेटस क्यों नहीं मिलना चाहिए, क्योंकि कार्ल मार्क्स ने तो कहा कि भाई तुम्हारा जो लेबर है दैट शुड बी काउंटेड एज इकोनॉमिक लेबर. सो व्हाई शुड वी नॉट बी अलाउड एन इक्वल स्टेटस इन सोसाइटी. सो सफ्रेजेट मूवमेंट से feminist issues begin to come to the mainstream, they begin to acquire focus. लेकिन इसके पहले feminism नहीं था, ये कहना गलत होगा. So even if you look at the Middle Ages, 15th century, 16th century, maybe there are works which have been written by nuns of the period. There are many nuns within the fold of Christianity who are writing about the place and position of women, and they are challenging the supremacy or the concentration of power which lies in the hands of the male priests. So religion के fold में भी हमेशा ही privilege जो है वो male को मिला है, and you find that there are many nuns who are writing out against this right in the Middle Ages. So there has always been a line of protest which has contested against the idea that ये जो females को जो secondary status, second citizen status जो allot हुआ है, ये नहीं होना चाहिए. तो ऐसा literature तो हमको मिलता है, भले ही it is not very popular, it has not been canonized. हमको बहुत ये लोग बहुत popular नहीं रही हैं. They have always been sidelined, they have always been cornered, but such texts are available that talk about this hierarchy in the power structure and the questioning of this hierarchy. तो ये क्वेश्चनिंग रही है हमेशा ही. हाउएवर ये 19th सेंचुरी के सेकेंड हाफ में, विक्टोरियन पीरियड में ये खुलकर सामने आई है in the form of the demand for women's rights, the demand for voting rights. पहला demand था जो suffragette movement था, and then the demand for inclusion of women in universities, because उस ज़माने में हम देख रहे हैं that the universities, Oxford, Cambridge जैसी जो universities हैं, they did not accept women as students. They catered only to men. They catered, हम लोग उस दिन शैले के बारे में भी बात कर रहे थे, तो हमने बोला था they catered only to men and to white men who would follow the doctrines of the church. So they were strongly gender bias था उनका, and religion bias भी था और race bias भी था in बड़ी universities का. To begin with, they had a race bias, they had a gender bias, they had a religion bias. So then feminism. So you read Virginia Woolf's famous essay A Room of One's Own, and there she's talking about how Oxford, Cambridge जैसी बड़ी universities, centers of learning should be democratic, and there yet a woman is not allowed to enter the library of these big universities क्योंकि she is a woman. तो ऐसे जो है ये सब challenges आते हैं for the first time, and रहे हैं हमेशा, but they come to the fore, ये नजर आते हैं. So you have feminism को broadly हम three waves तो रहे हैं, और अभी जो वेव चल रहा है, yes, you have raised the issue of the Sabrimala temple, and ये जो Me Too वाला issue आया पूरा. So all of these are said to be forming a fourth wave of feminism. इसके पहले हम feminism में three waves की बात करते हैं. The first wave of feminism जिसका achievement था the acquiring of women's rights. So suffragette जब movement successful हुआ, वहाँ पर हम कहते हैं कि first wave of feminism accomplish हुआ. Second wave of feminism was talking about, तो पहला wave of feminism जो था वो ये कह रहा था कि भाई हम तुम्हारे जैसे हैं. The first wave of feminism was talking about this, that हम तुम्हारे जैसे हैं. मतलब if I am a woman and you are a man, so I am also like you. I may be biologically different from you, but biological difference does not mean कि qualities में या accomplishment में या potential में कोई difference है. तो the first wave of feminism was trying to talk about equality. And the second wave of feminists say that नहीं, हमको equality नहीं चाहिए, हम बिल्कुल तुम्हारे जैसे नहीं हैं. So whereas the first wave of feminists were telling कि नहीं, men और women एक ही जैसे हैं, बस biological structure different है. The second wave of feminists say that no, we are not at all like you. Biological structure different है, and biology की वजह से सब कुछ different है. Because of a different biology, we have more differences between us. So you find the second wave of feminism will consist of people who are saying that nahi, there are vital differences between us. You have the entire French feminists. Just a second. So you have this entire the French feminists, Hélène Sixou, Julia Kristeva, Lucy Irigaray, who are telling that biology is the reason for a difference, and this creates a big difference, and we think in different ways because we are women. So, this wave of feminism is not focusing on equality, it is focusing on difference, and on trying to tell that we are better than you because we are different from you. तो जो हम लोग आजकल इको फेमिनिज्म भी देखते हैं, which says that there is a natural connection between ecology and women, वो भी कहीं ना कहीं इस belief system करता है कि हम अलग हैं, हमारी construction अलग है, we are meant to bring creation into the world, and therefore हमारा nature अलग है, and we will always be different from men, and our thinking will always be different from their thinking. So ये सारी, as I said, these are multiple approaches, these are multiple ideas, and इन ideas को कैसे फिर relate karna hai depends upon us, which idea we choose to relate to. Okay, so it's almost 5 o'clock today. If you have any questions on what has been discussed so far, we have not completed feminism yet, so tomorrow once again we'll be beginning with feminism.
What is
Jamshed, are you here?
Excuse me, ma'am, what's the third wave of feminism?
Yes, I am also asking same question, ma'am. You talked
Okay,
about
okay,
three
let us do it
feminism.
tomorrow. It's already 5 o'clock. Okay, so what we will do is we will again begin from here tomorrow, and maybe I
Okay,
can take
ma'am.
up your questions tomorrow.
All right,
Okay,
ma'am.
Jamshed, are you here?
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
जमशेद कल संडे को क्लास है ना? Some students wanted to know कि कल की क्लास है या नहीं? I think we have a class tomorrow because I have not been informed of any break in between. Jamshed, are you there?
हेलो
हाँ जमशेद, कल क्लास है ना?
जी मैम, कल क्लास है।
हाँ?
जी कल है सर।
Same time?
हाँ
Okay. Yes. So as I said, so we are meeting tomorrow again at 3:30, and
Thank
we
you,
will take this
ma'am.
forward from here. Okay, and we'll answer all your questions
मैम,
tomorrow.
हेलो
Okay.
Thank you so much,
हेलो
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you. See you. Okay. See you tomorrow.
Thank
Yes.
you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
जी मैम।